Pleasant good evening to you wherever you are. I want to welcome you to our broadcast. This is a test of some of the engagement we are going to be involved with during and not only today, but also in all that we do. This is the Methodist connection. The Liberian Renaissance 2025 premiere edition. It's good to be here. Hello, welcome. My name is Zeze Pade. Quite interestingly, on a beautiful day as today, I, I thought it wise to be able to engage you. We're going to be coming here each week to talk about what is it that we are called to do as people and as children of God. If you just join us, let me welcome you, my brothers and sisters, wherever you are around the world. It's good to be in your company. And I want to talk about what is it that we do as United Methodists, the purpose for which we are called to ministry. And as I begin this live broadcast here today, I want to use this opportunity to welcome you to this broadcast, a program designed for you and with you in mind. I'm going to be here for just a few minutes. It's a test of our broadcast, and it is a premiere edition. The Methodist Connection designed for you. And we're going to be coming here each week to bring you highlights of activities concerning our common humanity. What is it that we do and do together? Who we are and what we are called as a people to do. We're broadcasting to you from Belverne in Western Pennsylvania. It's good to be here. Good afternoon, like I say again. Zeze Wipogi Padre is the name. The United Methodist Church is a universal church, is engaged in a lot of activities in doing what is it, ministry to the world, and what is it that we are responsible for, and especially when it comes to the activities of ministry globally. So it's good that we can be here. I'm going to highlight two things here today. One is on the question of race. What is race? What is race in America? And what is it that we are to do as a people? And those of us who are called in that aspect of ministry, what are we called to do? Now, I want you to listen to this, a conversation with a very young person who is currently in Pittsburgh. And I surmise a college student at the moment. This interview took place a little while ago, but just what it is. And for many of you who live outside of the United States, who probably do not understand the question of race and race relations. Stay tuned. Pittsburgh, share with us your own memory the very first. Raise the question around race in America.
If I'm being honest, I never really had many experiences growing up. Like, I lived here my whole life. My first eye-opening experience, honestly, was probably George Floyd and the whole like internet sensation that like surrounded the BLM movement, because I was never exposed to it. I never really gave it, I didn't know it was a problem until like that brought attention to it. And then from there, I realized how big of an issue it really was, because I never saw it firsthand growing up, type of thing. So I want to say like that was like my first realization, like, holy crap, there's like a huge, huge problem in America still. Like people pretend it's not there. And just because I'm not exposed to it doesn't mean it's not there.
Pastor Zeze.
Yep.
One of the things that Abby did well within her essay was at least identify that growing up in that rural community of Franklin Rocky Grove, which is no different really than Oil City or Cranberry, you're not really introduced to diversity. And I think she said, Abby, did you say in your essay you can probably count on your hand how many people of color you have in your class over the years?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there's not very many. And so if you're not introduced to the perspective of culture and diversity, and I say this, and maybe Adam heard me say this at Franklin when I was up there, if you're not introduced to it, I don't know how you know what really is going on in like urban areas, in the inner cities of Pittsburgh, Harrisburg, Allentown, Philadelphia, Erie. If you live here and you're not exposed to it, and you might just drive through one of those places and you just might stop in for something to eat or you go into a mall, I don't know that you have that introduction to it.
Jeffrey Pollock. Jeffrey Pollock is indeed the person responsible for Together We Can. Together We Can is a nonprofit, a social justice nonprofit based in Western Pennsylvania, based in the Franklin district of Western Pennsylvania. A social justice organization that is designed and for the purpose of bringing awareness to the issue of diversity in America. And as far as we are concerned, nothing has considerably changed. This is 2025. We still have those challenges and those encounters. Abby, you heard a student there, a college student, now in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. She's supposed to be, I think, a student of the University of Pittsburgh at the moment. I'm hoping in the future, through the connection with Jeffrey Poley, I should be able to engage with the organization Together We Can and be able to bring the officials back online as a part of the Liberian Renaissance. This program is to bring awareness to many of our brothers and sisters on the continent of Africa, those in Liberia who do not understand the intricacies of just what it means to live within the context of the United States. Race in America matters. Race in America is a lightning rod. Race in America is still a challenging proposition for many of us who have lived here over a period of 2 decades now. But the Methodist connection in conjunction with the Liberian Renaissance from time to time will bring you issues that are designed to be able to educate our many listeners to have an understanding of the many challenges and the intricacies of what it means to live abroad. And I say that in a genuine sense to Liberians who live in Liberia. The beauty of the land, the agricultural setting, the beautiful beaches, and all that God has to offer you as Liberians who live there. I understand those of your brothers and sisters who probably may have left and have lived abroad many years ago, some at their own volition, some not at all, some who were coerced in taking that step of migrating forcibly as a consequence of war. And there's a bigger picture. I'm hoping to talk about it in the future on the Methodist connection. But I thought to bring you that flashback to be able to give you further insight about what we intend to do beginning the new year as we come here each week on this program, on this broadcast, that will be quite enlightening, educational, constructive, engaging, and to bring awareness to many of you who will come across this broadcast from time to time. The last story I'm going to take this week is that of the United Methodist Church, a faith community of over 80 million United Methodists all around the world. What is it that we do? What do we do best? What are some of the challenges we encounter? And as we do ministry, what is it that we do, not only here in the continental North America, but what is it that we do globally? What are we good at? I want you to hear from the horse's mouth. I want you to hear one of those involved, one of the leaders involved in fostering the vision of the continuing United Methodist Church. Let me bring you the bishop of the New York Annual Conference of the United Methodist Church. Indicated earlier, you have a considerable responsibility, Bishop, as both bishop and chairperson of the United Methodist Church's Global Health Initiative. Let's get to talk a little about that. What are the hopes and challenges in doing this work?
Well, it's a great question. You know, it's interesting that when we were involved with the Imagine No Malaria campaign, we raised over $75 million for that effort. And the providential thing now, Zeze, is I now serve as the chairperson of the United Methodist Committee on Relief, UMCOR. And I have the privilege of designating the money that we raised to global health projects in Africa. The challenges before us are always formidable. And, you know, COVID hasn't helped a bit. The need to always try to keep pace with malaria-related illnesses, I think, are always going to be present until some form of a vaccine becomes widespread. But in that meantime, we continue to support programs and initiatives in Africa, especially through our hospital and clinic system there. And it's always been and always will be about access. Access in remote locations, sorting through wars and conflicts of war, dealing with how COVID has impacted Africa. And yet, in the midst of all of those challenges, the opportunities that arise in the midst of it all are always there. And one of the great gifts about that is to have boots on the ground and strong resiliency from our healthcare workers. That's always an asset. So the prospects are hope-filled. The challenges seem to be growing, but we continue to press on in the midst of it all.
The voice of Bishop Thomas Bickerton. Bishop Thomas J. Bickerton. Bishop Bickerton happens to be the bishop, the current bishop of the New York Annual Conference of the United Methodist Church, then chair of the United Methodist Committee on Relief, UMCOR. A great church, the continuing United Methodist Church. When I spoke to Bishop Bickerton then, it was in the midst of a virus that had erupted and taking over the very fabric of the entire world, COVID-19. Where are we today? We've gravitated to some level from that experience. Some of the consequences and the challenges of COVID-19 are still lingering, and many of our communities are affected. Many are still going through the residual effects and the experiences of COVID-19, now characterized as long COVID for some people. But interestingly enough, the two issues we look at briefly today on the Methodist connection, the issue and the question of race in America, from a perspective of a college student, from a perspective of a community organizer, a social justice activist in Franklin District, in the Western Pennsylvania Annual Conference of the United Methodist Church. And of course, just now, you just listened to the bishop of the New York Annual Conference of the United Methodist Church, Bishop Thomas Bickerton. Well, on that note, we want to come to the end of the introductory aspect of this particular initiative, a premiere of the Liberian Renaissance 2025 on the Methodist connection. We're going to be back sometime this week, sometime next week, sometime the following week on this channel, on this dial. Each week, we come here bringing you interesting perspectives about the human condition. What is it God has called us to do? And what is it that we ought to do as those of us who are involved in social justice activism, to bring the awareness to not only those of us who reside here in the United States, but many of our brothers and sisters, those on the continent, those of our brothers and sisters in Liberia who do not quite clearly understand in many ways what it means to live abroad and the challenges we encounter, the beauty of what God has given to you in Liberia. What is it that you are called to do to appreciate what God has given you in that land? The beautiful beaches, the tropical nature of the weather, the tropical nature of the land, the foods that you ought to grow, the need for you to gravitate from experiencing and that dependency syndrome, knowing fully well that God has given you absolutely everything necessary to be self-sufficient in food production, to be a country, a beacon of hope like you were once on the continent of Africa. But I get to talk about that in my next production, about what is it that we are called to do. I want to thank all of you for being a part of this particular edition of the Liberian Renaissance. Liberia must change. Liberia must get better. Liberia and its leadership must begin to think critically about what needs to be done to move that country forward. And as you come into the space of being a part of the Committee of Nations, the credible leadership, the vision of a credible leadership is created to create opportunities for the young, those who hold the future, those who will be charged with the responsibility of leading Liberia when we are no more. And I think those are things I think about every day. How do we create opportunities for the young to make Liberia what it ought to be? How do we create opportunities to make Africa what it ought to be? How do we create opportunities in which people are giving the means to strive, to aspire to greater heights? That's the challenge for many of us today. And I think those of us who are critical thinkers and can look far beyond today will begin to look in those directions and ask the question, what is it that we ought to do to make life better for a generation that is going to come after us? I want to end on that critical note today, this premiere edition of the Liberian Renaissance. I'll be back. I will bring other voices in this conversation to understand What is it that we are called to do to make Liberia not only great, but to be a place of the testing of ideas and the power of knowledge, to make sure that a level playing field is created in that sacred space that lays out quite clearly what needs to be done for the young, for the youthful population between the ages of 15 to 25. You form 65% of the population. And what is it that needs to be done to make sure education is encouraged? The education is done at every fundamental, from the very elementary level, to make Liberia what it ought to be. Those of us at the Drew cohort is an institution, is a vision that we will share with you in times to come on this channel, to tell you what is it that we are doing behind the scene and what we intend to do to encourage scholarship in Liberia. Hey man, I want to thank you so much for watching. Zeze Gwepugipare is my name. I'm a son of farmers all the way from Lofa County in northwestern Liberia. So if I sit here today, I don't even want to go deep into my story. I want to leave that for another podcast. But I sit here today and I sit here and speak to the world. It must just be by the grace of the Almighty God that has created this avenue, created this opportunity. And I'm so grateful for it. On that note, we come to the end of this premiere edition of our broadcast on the Methodist Connection. My name is Zeze Gwepugipare. I will surely see you next time. Until then, peace.